All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going on a guided tour of, well, the most complex object in the entire known universe. And the wild part? You've got one with you right now. We're talking about the human brain. I mean, just think about it. It's a 3-pound universe tucked right inside your head, and it's responsible for every single thought, feeling, and action you'll ever have. So how on earth does it all work? Well, that's what we're here to find out. We're going to peel back the layers, one by one, from the outside in, to really see how this incredible machine is built. So our first stop is the brain's security system, and believe me, it needs it. This organ is incredibly fragile, so it's surrounded by some seriously impressive fortifications.
Okay, so it all starts with the obvious one, the skull. Your own personal, bony helmet. But that's just the beginning. Underneath that, you've got 3 distinct membranes, and they're called the meninges. The outermost one is the dura mater, and the name kind of gives it away. It's tough, it's robust. Then there's the arachnoid mater, and finally, right up against the brain's surface, you have the pia mater, a really delicate thin layer. It's not just one wall, it's a whole multi-layered defense system.
And floating between those inner layers is this absolutely amazing substance, cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF. The best way to think about it is like the brain's own personal airbag. It cushions the brain from bumps and sudden jolts, basically letting it float safely inside your skull. It's so important that doctors can actually analyze it to figure out if something's wrong. And get this, your brain is constantly making more of this stuff. We're talking about 500 milliliters, that's half a liter, of fresh cerebrospinal fluid every single day. It's just always circulating, keeping everything clean and perfectly protected.
All right, so now that we're past security, let's take a look at the main geographical landmarks of the brain itself. We're moving from the protective gear to the main event.
So, when you look at the brain, 2 big structures just jump right out at you. First, there's the cerebrum. That's the big, wrinkly part everyone thinks of when they picture a brain. But then, tucked away underneath, you've got the cerebellum. Now, it looks a lot smaller, right? But here's what's so wild. It is packed with an insane density of neurons. That's the technical term for nerve cells. So dense that it has almost as many as the entire cerebrum. So yeah, in the brain, size definitely isn't everything.
Now that big cerebrum we were just talking about, it's divided up into 4 main zones, or lobes. You've got the frontal lobe, right at the front, which handles things like planning. Up top is the parietal lobe, for processing senses. On the sides, the temporal lobes, for hearing and memory. And way at the back, the occipital lobe, which is all about vision. Each one is a specialist with its own very important job.
Okay, let's zoom in even further. If we look past these big regions, what is the brain actually made of? What's the raw material here?
Well, you've probably heard people talk about gray matter and white matter. The gray matter is where you find the main bodies of the neurons. A good way to think of them is as the brain's tiny computers. And the white matter? That's made of all the long nerve fibers that connect those computers, acting like the cabling that sends signals all across the brain. And the star of this whole show really is the neuron. This is the fundamental building block of everything. It's got a main cell body, these branches called dendrites that act like antennas to pull in signals, and then a long tail, the axon, to send signals out to other cells. All brain activity, every single thought comes down to these tiny powerhouses.
So how do all these neurons talk to each other? The magic happens at the synapse. It's a microscopic gap between 2 neurons. When an electrical signal gets to the end of one neuron, it releases chemicals that jump across this tiny gap and fire up the next one. That little jump, that's the basis for all communication in your entire brain.
Now for the really fun part. We've seen the structure, we've seen the wiring, we've seen the cells, so let's connect all of that to what the brain actually does for you every single second.
Okay, let's go deeper, because buried inside the brain are these critical control centers, the real command posts. You've got the thalamus, which is kind of like the gateway to consciousness. It filters all the sensory info coming in. Right below that, the hypothalamus is the body's control panel. You know, handling temperature, hunger, thirst. The hippocampus, that's your memory maker. And the amygdala, that's what processes fear and flags potential danger. The 2 halves of the brain share all this information using the corpus callosum, a massive information superhighway. And your smooth, coordinated movements, you can thank the cerebellum for that. It's an incredible system of specialists all working together.
And here's a classic brain fact that I just find so cool. Your brain is essentially cross-wired. The left side, or hemisphere, of your brain gets signals from and controls the right side of your body.
And the right hemisphere? You guessed it, it controls the left side of your body. It's a perfect example of the brain's really elegant, if a little strange, organization. So what does this actually mean for you day to day? Well, that frontal lobe we talked about, that's home to your prefrontal cortex, which is basically the center of your personality and self-control. It also has Broca's area, which lets you form words to speak. When you feel a touch on your skin, that's your parietal lobe's somatosensory cortex lighting up. Every single thing you do has a home in the brain.
And how did the two sides of the brain coordinate everything so seamlessly? It's all thanks to that massive bundle of nerve fibers we just mentioned, the corpus callosum. It's the superhighway that connects the two hemispheres. The source material put it perfectly, saying that because of this structure, the left hand literally knows what the right hand is doing.
Of course, a system this intricate needs to stay healthy. In diseases like Alzheimer's, for instance, nerve cells start to die off, and this actually causes the brain to physically shrink. As you can imagine, this has a huge impact on its functions, especially memory. It really underscores why brain health is so absolutely critical.
So there you have it. From the hard skull and the cushioning fluid, down through the different lobes, the gray and white matter, and deep into those specialized control centers, we've seen that the brain is this profound universe of integrated systems, all working together in perfect harmony.
And that brings our tour to a close. We've just looked at the blueprint for the most powerful tool you will ever own. So the final question really is this. Now that you've seen how it's built, what are you going to do with the incredible brain you have?